Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
What's up, everybody? Kevin Jackson here. Let me tell you something. The left, they're full of it. And I'm talking about hypocrisy. Welcome to the Kevin Jackson Show, KJRadio.com. That's going to be our theme for today, hypocrisy. Frederick William Robinson said there are three things in the world that deserve no mercy: hypocrisy, fraud, and tyranny. And I could have added leftist. Anyway, glad you guys are here to have me explain to you the hypocrisy of the left. It is glaring. It is in your face. They cannot defend it. They are frauds, hypocrites, tyrants, bullies. I can give you 50 names for these guys and then continue after I take a breath. Terrible. Everything that they talk about is completely bass-ackwards, as they say. And it doesn't matter where you start. They're mad, for example, that we pulled out of the Kyoto Climate Treaty in Japan. Why? Because they were stealing. They got mad when we pulled out of the Paris Climate Accord. And the irony of it, the hypocrisy of it is, these guys know the data's flawed. They know they've cooked the books. These are the people that will tell you that every vote should count. Your most important thing, your most treasured act as a citizen of a country is to have a vote. And then they will try to cheat and let anybody vote. People that haven't invested as you have. They don't see the hypocrisy, but they do. They absolutely do. Don't believe them. They'll tell you that the illegals that they bring over to cancel out your legitimate vote as a citizen are cost positive to the economy. Again, wrong data, skewed data, faulty data, fraudulent data. And they know this. Why? Because they want to impose tyranny. These hypocrites will use fraud in order to terrorize you, to be a tyrannical group of elitists who want to tell you how to think. Whether it's an individual act, something they want to take from you at your local level, like a friend of mine who had a city councilman try to railroad him out of his property, or whether it's an Agenda 21 thing where they want the UN to come in and act as if they know more about how to govern you than you know yourself as your own community. These hypocrites will tell the president it is his responsibility. His number one responsibility is to protect citizens from any type of threat, foreign and domestic. And the very moment that the president tries to do that, they will fight him, call him xenophobic, call him racist, call him Islamophobic. But the president who did exactly the same thing before, the black dude, he can do the very same thing, and those hypocrites won't say a word. They're tyrants, fascist, communist, bullies and beasts, and they will do anything up to the point of beating you into submission or killing you. And don't you think for 1 second I'm exaggerating this. They will beat you to death. They will look at a group of Muslims, stone somebody and say, "You can't put that on the internet. That's just too mean." But let these dudes watch a Trump rally and they will watch people get chased and beaten. And if left to their own devices of the left, they would kill you at Berkeley if they could. Why? Because you're a conservative. Because you're a Republican. Because you don't toe the line. Because you dare think for yourself. You dare not follow groupthink. Look, we're all, a bunch of us listening to this program, the overwhelming majority, are conservatives. God bless you for that. I didn't force you. And you know what? We don't monolithically completely agree. We have a common core of things that bind us. And so we're all happy that, oh, yeah, Kevin, I agree with you that we shouldn't let pedophiles be babysitters. We agree on that. But maybe I say, well, I see it as a disorder. And you say, Kevin, I don't care if it's a disorder. I think those guys need to be put in prison or, have their pee-pees cut off, whatever. We can disagree on that. But what we core agree on is that they shouldn't be babysitters. And that's okay. We can agree to disagree on the nuances and all the other stuff outside of that. You can't do that on the left. You have to love the pedophile. You got to love the baby rapers. You got to love them. Because if you don't, these knuckleheads will go, oh, that's not cool. We're supposed to be all inclusive when it comes to nut jobs. Yeah, that's supposed to be all inclusive. Well, they're inclusive. They love terrorists. They love MS-13 gang members. They love black thugs that are menacing citizens all over the country every single day. They love women who want us to pay for their abortions. These, as my grandmother would say, these loose women, these fast girls. They want us to pay for their abortions. They love everything that takes money from you that they don't have to pay for. They love all that. Yeah, it's all fair game. Bunch of hypocrites. And you know why they love it? Because they don't pay for it. They don't have to deal with it. They claim that they want to pay more. We should be paying more taxes. The rich people ought to pay more taxes. And you know who shouts it the loudest? The rich people on the left who do everything they can to not pay more taxes. Can I get a hallelujah? I need my handkerchief. Whew, it's getting hot up in here. Because let me tell you, leftists are the biggest hypocrites, frauds, and tyrants on the planet. If you see people being oppressed, don't look for conservatives. Don't look for Christian or Judeo-Christian valued people. You will not see us oppressing people, not as a general rule. I'm not saying we don't go astray, but I'm telling you, as a general rule, we want everybody to succeed. We love it. We see the pie get bigger, but not leftists. Frauds, hypocrites, and tyrants. That's what they are. There's maybe no worse vice than hypocrisy. And don't misunderstand me, folks. We all go through it. Your kids, when you learn, the way you learn the most about yourself is when somebody goes, you're being a bit of a hypocrite. What? And you get a bit offended. You've been called a hypocrite. Well, you know what? They're probably right. Whoever's saying, if it's somebody who loves you, who you respect, they're probably right. I'll tell you my hypocrite story. I don't have time this segment. But when we come back, I'm going to tell you my hypocrite story. And I got a bunch of them. But you know what you do? You learn from your hypocrisies. And you say, you know what? Or at least at the very least, you at least take a look at them and say, I'll learn from them. It doesn't mean you change, but you do recognize them and you go, yep, that's hypocritical. But so what? But they don't. They rationalize it. Anyway, we got a lot more to talk about, folks. Kevin Jackson, who you listen to. I can just
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful four-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
Jackson Radio Show.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Kevin Jackson here. KJRadio.com is how to contact us. You want to call 844-551-8255. Talking about hypocrites today, hypocrisy, leftists. We're all hypocrites to some degree. Let's just get over that, okay? If you are living on this planet, you are over the age of 20, you don't even have to be that old. You're probably a hypocrite in some way. You've been a hypocrite. It's okay. It's a terrible word to hear. You're a hypocrite. But like I said earlier, if you make amends, repent from your hypocrisy, then okay, you move forward. So I told you guys I was going to tell you my hypocrisy story. So one of my buddies, years ago, I almost lost my company. And it was one of the first companies I had started. And long story short, it was a hostile takeover attempt. And I needed a lot of cash to get this hostile takeover attempt, to buy my partner out, who was worthless, but I had to buy her out anyway. And it turned out better for me. So my buddy loans me the money. He's the only guy in the world I can go to get this money. And he loans me the money. So I've got this money, and I pay off my partner. I don't remember how much, but it was a substantial amount. But I had a lot left over, and I held on to it for emergency because I wasn't sure when my contracts would come back and if I was going to be able to make payroll, and so on and so forth. So he gave me, in effect, twice as much as what I needed, but what I told him was what I actually thought I needed at the time. But instead of giving him that half back, and I didn't, I held on to it as kind of an emergency fund. And to be honest with you, I probably should have just said, okay, I only needed this much, and here's the other half back. Well, as time went on, I was just kind of seeing how the bills were getting paid and stuff like this. And I don't remember if we worked out a payment agreement or anything, because we certainly had no paperwork. I'm just telling you, he was one of my best buddies. To this day, we are. And for the record, I've made amends because I've loaned him a substantial amount of money, and he owes me that money now. But I don't bother him. But long story short, I wasn't paying him back. So he'd hear me say, yeah, hey, I'd say, yeah, I'm getting ready to go do this, and went out to dinner with, so-and-so or whatever. And one day he called me up and he says, hey, man, what have you been up to? And I said, just had to go to a dinner. He goes, how was dinner on me? And I went, what? He says, how was dinner on me? And I was thinking, what do you mean it's on you? He's like, you haven't paid me back. And I went, yeah, but I'm going to. He's like, yeah, but until you do, it's dinner on me. And I remember getting somewhat offended. Like, who are you to tell me? But I had to check myself because I'm going, well, technically, he's correct. And then he said to me, he goes, bro, he goes, we're like family. I love you like a brother. I gave you that money to bail you out, and I didn't think 2 seconds of it. We have no paperwork. There's no record of that money. That's how much I trust you. He says, but everything that you do until you pay me back is me doing it, not you. And I was like, oh, and it hit me like, he might as well had just come and punched me right in the face, because it hit me right between the eyes. Well, my goodness. And so at that point, as hard as it was to hear that conversation, I was being a hypocrite. But you know what? I learned from it, and I went, here you go. And so I took what I had, to pay him back, and I started paying back, and I paid him back like clockwork. Now, fast forward years later, by the way, never charged me interest. So, and it was a substantial amount of money, certainly for me at the time. I think he loaned me $80,000. So, fast forward, I learned that he had lost his company, had a big issue with the IRS. They targeted him, and he filed bankruptcy, etc. He needed a loan. I happened to have the money, and I didn't even blink. I said, what do you mean you're struggling? He says, well, this happened, blah, blah, blah. Guy's a financial genius, but he had this issue. I said, what do you need? He told me. I said, let me talk over with a few things, get with my, my people, and see if I can swing it. But if I can, I'm going to get you that money. And sure enough, I did. And he owes it to me to this day. And he's probably had it for 3 years now. And I'm like, it's okay, because I did the same thing. And you know what I do know? He's not having dinner on me. He's working his butt off to make sure that when he gets that money, it's saved up, it's coming right back to me. And I know that as much as I know the sun's going to rise in the east and set in the west. So there you have it. But I learned that lesson from one of my best friends. And I'll be honest with you, if it had been anybody else, I might have really gotten an attitude about it. But it was the truth. So CNN has a bit of hypocrisy working. They backtracked on a story. See, when they want to promote a fake news narrative, they splash some salacious headline. But when the proof of the lie hits, they get quieter than a mouse peeing on cotton. And that was the case when they deemed a report on Jeff Sessions, explosive. But they gently walked it back because they had faulted Attorney General Jeff Sessions for failing to reveal meetings that he had with Russian officials when he applied for his security clearance. You remember all the hoopla and the brouhaha over that stuff? Well, it was a disclosure he wasn't required to make. But CNN reported last May that Sessions didn't disclose meetings he had with the Russian ambassador when he was a senator. And the media was all over it, man. I mean, they had airtime on top of airtime portraying Sessions as being shady. He was dishonest. He had colluded with the Russians. And it was an attempt to embarrass not only Jeff Sessions, but to embarrass Donald Trump. The narrative that the Trump campaign was hiding these meetings so the Russians could get whatever they got. It was a lie. The splashy headline on CNN was this. First on CNN, AG Sessions did not disclose Russia meetings in security clearance form, DOJ says. The CNN story claimed that the incident was, quote, the latest example of Sessions failing to disclose contacts he had with Russian officials. 6 months later, they admit the entire report was meaningless. Did they come out and say, you know what, we'd like to issue a formal apology to Attorney General Jeff Sessions? We erroneously reported this. It was, whatever. It was bad form. It was tasteless of us to do it. Anything. No. They leave it hanging out there. Now, they'll say, well, it's no big deal. Why? You're supposed to just put it on page 16, of the lifestyle section. You're not supposed to come back out and say, we screwed up. Now, I'm not telling CNN what to do, but I will tell you this. If I screwed up like that, I would say it. I'd go, wait, we screwed up. No harm, I'm not going to say no harm, no foul, but we screwed up. We're going to take responsibility for the screw up. We had a couple people get us on some fake news stories. They look legit. Then I come out the next day and go, look, guys, we got fooled on this story. We're getting better. We're not a news outlet, but we're trying to get better. But they got us on this. Sorry. I'm no WikiLeaks. I'm no Julian Assange. I don't have millions of dollars and minions going over stuff and making sure it's 100% correct and giving it months of whatever. But I'm no hypocrite when it comes to that either. I'm going to talk about hypocrites today. Most of them are on the left or some rhinos. And you know them too, folks. We'll be back in a bit.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
There are currently illegal aliens with final orders of removal in our country, but there are only 6,000 deportation officers to remove them. When you have finite resources, you have to prioritize, and criminal aliens remain a key priority for this administration in terms of removal. Criminal aliens have already shown disregard for our laws. Those are the people we're focused on. Those are our priorities for removal. But as our ICE officers do their job and pursue these released criminal aliens, it forces them out into the communities where there is an increased chance our law enforcement officers will encounter other immigration offenders who are subject to arrest. Because these officers have taken an oath to uphold the law, under this administration, they will no longer look the other way, and these individuals may end up being detained and removed.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson. That was our new DHS director, And she's making no bones about it. We're going after illegals. And in fact, Jeff Sessions, this went pretty much unheralded late last year. He took down 3,800 MS-13 and 18th Street gang members in the United States and Central America. It was a coordinated law enforcement effort that they called Operation Regional Shield. Did you guys hear about this? It was so cool. 3,800 gang members cleared off the streets. This was huge. 3,800 people charged. 70 individuals in America and California, Maryland, Massachusetts, New York, Ohio, and Virginia. Law enforcement seized 6 firearms, charged 284 gang members in Guatemala, seized 14 businesses and 11 luxury vehicles, arrested 12 MS-13 money launderers in Honduras, filed 3,477 criminal charges, resulting in more than 1,400 arrests in El Salvador. And there's no sense in walking you through all the people that were taken down, but just to tell you that Donald Trump is serious about this, and he's doing this in conjunction with other nations who see the problem here. He didn't make just the United States safer. He's making the world safer. And while he's doing it, I want you to understand what's happening with these hypocrites on the left. They're complaining. They're complaining. He's taking Mexicans and people off the street, Latinos. He doesn't like Latinos. No, he doesn't like Latinos who are menacing American citizens, nor does he like where the Latinos are starting their whole trade. And what does he do? Yeah, he's getting them off the street, but you know what he's really doing that's very good, and there's no mystery here, folks. He's hitting them where it hurts, at the money source. At the money source. I don't know how President Trump in the long term is going to deal with all these various issues. I know they just recently said they're going to crack down on marijuana. I think that's sort of a waste of time for him, to be honest with you. I think marijuana should be like cigarettes. They should be like liquor. Regulate it and get out of its way. Do the same thing you do with DUI, which I think they do with that in that regard. No distribution, but you won't need it. People can buy the cigarettes. In fact, marijuana will become cheap. It will. It'll be. In fact, I don't smoke marijuana or cigarettes. Am I right when I say marijuana may very well be cheaper than cigarettes now? Who knows? I want to move on and continue on this border theme because Nancy Pelosi may be the dumbest politician ever. She actually said this. She said this a while back, but I didn't get to the story, but I want to get to it because we're talking about the border and we're talking about hypocrisy. See, there's no reason for us not to have a wall. We posted a video of a wall that I think is being proposed by Trump. This thing is a thing of beauty. You got to go to the website and see this. It self-cleans the solar panels that are going to be on it, and the solar panels will generate electricity for the border cities that are there. It's got something for the green weenies. I love that. It's a car that moves along like it's like Jurassic Park. If it's got these Disney, that monorail. It's got like a monorail, and that's how the security goes through and looks at the gate and all that. It's got an X construction, so it goes under the ground like 20 or 30 feet, and it's like 30 feet high. It has this monorail system and can be monitored. Any break in the track is known immediately and can be dealt with immediately. It's crazy good. It's crazy cool. So go look at the video and you'll see this. But here's what I said about it. It is so cool, it'll probably spark tourism. Now think about this. When have you ever heard anybody complain about the Great Wall of China? How many people scale the Great Wall of China in order to get in? Not very many. Now you could argue, well, Kevin, it's not like it butts up against Mexico, the southern border of North America, of America. No, it doesn't. But there are people that could theoretically want to get over it. The wall was built to keep people from getting over it. It can be seen from outer space. It's a big wall. Google it. Google the Great Wall of China. You know what'll come up? Tourism. Hey, if you want to see the Great Wall of China, come see the Great Wall of China. The Great Wall of China. While you're there, you should see the Great Wall of China. So it's this beautiful, I think they call it abatement, to keep people out, and borders it's thousands of miles long. And I was looking at what they were proposing for this, and I was thinking I would ride in a monorail system on that wall. I absolutely would do it. It is so cool what they're proposing. And again, forget the amount of people that are going to work on this wall. It's going to be thousands, and they're going to be working on it for a period of years as they build it out. And with Trump, it'll build quickly, but it will become a tourist thing. I want you to think about this wall in thousands of years from now. People are still going, the Great Wall of the United States. Now, the only reason why I'm bringing it up in this context is nobody complains about the Great Wall of China. I looked for negative. The Great Wall of China, it's racist. If you want that wall, it's xenophobic. I don't care. Whatever leftist that's gone to China, if you'd be crazy not to say, well, is it possible for us to go see the Great Wall? It's one of those things you want to see. Why can't they say that about our wall? What makes our wall different? I'm just curious. Yeah, you see, you guys don't even have an answer. I'm talking about my producers, but I bet you, neither do you listening to the program. You don't have an answer because there is no answer. We can build whatever wall we choose to build, and this wall is magnificent. And not only is it magnificent, unlike the Great Wall of China, it's high tech. You can see how it operates. You could do a reality show just based on that. But here's the other thing. It's going to power cities next to it. We could theoretically say, you know what we'll do, Mexico? We'll power your cities for you. We'll use this electricity. Maybe that helps you out in some way. We want to see Mexico's economy flourish. We want to see it flourish with their people staying on their side. If you want to come over, visit, go home, but come over legally. It's not that difficult thing. But Pelosi said that if we build this wall, it's a sign of weakness. Yeah. But she voted for a border wall in 2006. But now she calls the border wall immoral, expensive, and unwise. Why? Immoral like the gated community that she lives in? Expensive what? Like the cost of illegal immigration with estimates as much as $113 billion a year? Estimates to build a wall, $12 to $15 billion. And of course, we know Mexico's going to pay for it. So what do we care what it costs? But Mexico can know this. This is a good thing for them. Donald Trump will get the wall built on time and probably under budget, so he'll save them some money. Anyway, this wall is needed. And for Nancy Pelosi to imply that it's a sign of weakness is yet another hypocrisy. Surpassed only by her hypocrisy of having voted for a border wall already. If you don't think these people play partisan politics, you're insane. And the sad thing is this. It isn't like we don't have enough examples of illegals coming into this country and doing the wrong thing. And by the way, they cook the books on illegals and the crime. They claim, illegals, they do as much crime as the average American citizen, which, by the way, is still too much. But it turns out they do a lot more crime than the average American citizen. Those statistics were completely bogus. Yet again, more hypocrisy. The left is never going to give you the straight scoop, because if they give you all the information, you will not follow them. You won't believe anything that they say. That's why I don't trust them. Short break.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. KJRadio.com. We will be going into the Golden Globe. Should have done it yesterday. When we plan the shows, we plan them in advance, and I didn't even think about the Golden Globes because I don't watch it. It would be like saying, hey, Kevin, you're going to talk about football? I talk about football 3 days after the game because I don't watch the games until something hits our plate. We don't really think about it. So, in our defense, I don't know how much of that you want to cover, but I am going to cover it in quite a bit of depth because a lot of things came out of it that I think are applicable, that fit the narrative of what the left is trying to accomplish, and they used that platform for what they always do, what the left does. They use it for political gain. Oh, let's talk about how men are oppressing women and blah, blah, blah. And what's funny about it, when you look at everything that we'll cover, it's all about leftism eating itself. We're not the ones over in Hollywood going, hey, listen, no female directors can win. And we only want black women of color to win this or whatever. And, of course, Oprah Winfrey gets up there and makes a fool out of herself, but the Democrats are fawning all over it. And when they're not fawning all over that, they're fawning all over Wolf's book, which is a work of fiction. And let me tell you, buy into it, leftists. I hope you're listening to the program. Buy into this nonsense. You seem to think you now have your finger on the pulse of everything. You think you're setting narratives. You're setting nothing. Nobody listens to Hollywood. Nobody listens to your politicians screech in D.C. anymore. We are now much smarter than you would ever imagine. And not only that, we're reaching into the left. We're grabbing Democrats and left-leaning moderates and saying, hey, is this what you want? You want to kill Kate Steinle and watch her killer go because they've got some agenda for sanctuary cities here? You want to watch MS-13 gang members selling drugs, killing people, raping people? You want to watch illegals doing all kinds of crazy stuff to the population that while they tell you, oh, they don't have nearly the criminality of the regular American citizen, then you find out the truth. You want to watch them try to charge you for the air that you breathe built on a mountain of lies? Oh, well, we've got our hockey stick and it shows that it's getting warmer. No, it's getting cooler. Listen, it's all man-made. And then we've got all the evidence against it. And then you find out they're nothing but a bunch of crooks that have been lying, stacking the deck with scientists willing to say whatever they want to say. You want to bet on the idea that the left gives a crap about you when it comes to refugee resettlement? Do you think they really care about refugee resettlement, how to make a better way of life for these people? Or do you think they want votes? And are you safer for it? Do you think they want to give credit to this economy because of a guy who is sane, who understands policy, economics globally, and can put together an economy that has a stock market soaring, and I could go on? Or do you want to believe those clowns? Because that's the difference. That's where we are. Chuck Schumer has been backed into a corner. I want to shift gears here, but it has to do with immigration. He's been backed into a corner because of DACA. And I'm reading a post on American Thinker, and here's what the guy writes. How do Democrats explain to themselves the way they keep getting outsmarted by a man they claim is a moron? President Trump has the Democrats exactly where he wants them on DACA. And here's what PBS had to say. With a new deadline fast approaching, Democrats in Congress are struggling to adopt a unified strategy to protect hundreds of thousands of young immigrants from deportation. Their inaction has enraged liberal activists across the country who've shifted their anger in recent days from Republicans who control Congress to Democrats seeking to balance their commitment to a progressive priority with their desire to avoid an explosive government shutdown heading into 2018 midterms. The young immigrants they're talking about in question, the Dreamers, that group of illegals purportedly brought to this country by their parents, 1/4 of whom are functionally illiterate and half of whom have not bothered to learn English. The Democrats correctly see them as future voters and hope the chain migration triples or quadruples the 800,000 into millions of new Democrats if they're allowed to gain permanent residency and citizenship. The problem is the general public is far from convinced that legalizing this group of border violators likely to become tax consumers, not taxpayers, is the most pressing problem facing the nation, worthy of shutting down the government if Democrats don't get their way. President Trump already called their bluff when he threatened the continuing resolution over DACA last month, and the Democrats caved and averted a Christmas season government shutdown. Their problem is that a substantial part of their base is angry over the concession. Now, liberal groups largely blame Senate Minority Leader Schumer of New York for not uniting Democrats behind a hardline strategy like he did on a debate on taxes and health care. This is on Schumer. This is a quote. His most important job is to keep his caucus together. This is what Angel Padilla said. More than a dozen Hispanic House members, all Democrats, forced a meeting last month with Schumer on the issue. Representative Darren Soto out of Florida, he says this: Democrats will lay it all on the line to protect Dreamers. But President Trump engineered the dilemma for Schumer by rescinding Obama's executive order, creating DACA, giving Congress until March of 2018 to come up with an alternative approach. That trap is closing in on Schumer. He has 10 Democrat senators up for re-election in November in states that voted for Trump. Is Heidi Heitkamp of North Carolina, John Tester of Montana, Claire McCaskill of Missouri, will they be willing to tell their voters that they think amnesty for a group that includes MS-13 members is so important that the government should be shut down? Yeah, see, that's what I like. And what reason why I like the author of this is they're thinking beyond, they're thinking of the strategy of what Trump is doing. Trump says, I got this down. This is a simple thing. I just undo Obama's thing because he couldn't do that in the first place. That wasn't within his rights. So he rescinded that executive order. He says that was Congress's role. Now, Congress, you got it back. You have a date on there. Do you want to do this now and shut down government? Oh, no, we're not going to do that because they've always fought for, we can't shut down the government. Why can't they shut down the government? You guys want to take a guess? What do you think? Exactly. So my producer says they can't shut down the government because Democrats are known for keeping government running. Why? Because Democrats are the people who are all in government. They'd be shutting down themselves. So they don't want to do that. And Trump knew they wouldn't want to do that. So now it's on their plate. We're in January. This thing will loom. How are you going to handle this? Because this is such a complicated issue. DACA. Think about it. What age do you cut it off? Should they have come over at the age of 17? Should they have come over at the age of 2? What dates do you put on it? Blah, blah, blah. All the wrangling that has to come up and all that, and then going back and forth between the Senate and stuff. It's not going to happen in the time frame that they want. And even with Donald Trump saying, I want it, because let me tell you what he's going to do. He's going to say, I absolutely want this. I want this. I believe that if you've come over to America at the age of 2, this is all you've known. We want to make sure we're going to offer you the American dream, but you're going to have to earn it by doing something different. He's going to make them have to come to grips with the legal system and put these things in place that they're not going to want to put in, but he's going to be agreeable to it. Because like most of us, if I were moved into a country by my parents at the age of 2 to 5, where I don't really have an idea of what I'm doing, who I am or whatever, I would be like, well, this is my country. I don't know the other culture that I'm from. But after 5, don't tell me I don't know the other culture. I can tell you from the age of 5 on, I'll even go 6. If we want to look at where we put a cutoff, go to 10 if you want to. But there's a cutoff. And the Democrats aren't going to want to face this because everything they do is going to be a negative. Oh, well, just because you're here doesn't mean you automatically get it. Now you've got to do community service. Now you've got to pay your own way. Your parents are going to have to pay back taxes or whatever. I don't know, but there's got to be a penalty. You can't just come over and think it's a God-given right. And the next thing that needs to happen is we need to stop this 14th Amendment BS nonsense that if you drop a baby in the United States, that baby is an American baby. That's absolute, utter ridiculous. You don't get dual citizenship here. So once we cover this, we go cover that issue as well. Man. They said, he goes on to say this, the Senate Democrats have been able to enforce a remarkable degree of party solidarity, far more discipline than the GOP. That's been a huge bargaining asset for Schumer, already empowered by his party's pickup in Alabama. But DACA could be the wedge issue that stops all that discipline. And I agree. This is a no-win situation. Harvard graduate Schumer should be asking himself how he got into this situation, but he won't. He either alienates his base or he risks adding to the GOP Senate majority by shutting down government and having Trump fighting back in ways that would never have occurred by Bush or any establishment Republicans. That's how he ended the piece. Very well written. I agree completely. This is scary for the Democrats. Short break.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It is the Kevin Jackson Show. Our subject for today is hypocrisy. And I should have talked about this yesterday after the Golden Globes, but I didn't. So we'll cover that today. But hypocrisy, you guys know who Robin Williams was. He said this. He says, for me, comedy starts as a spew, a kind of explosion, and then you sculpt it from there, if at all. It all comes out of a deeper, darker side. Maybe it comes from anger. Because I'm outraged by cruel absurdities, the hypocrisy that exists everywhere, even within yourself, where it's hardest to see. And that's the way I sum up leftism. They can't. The unfortunate thing is most of the time they can't laugh at themselves. But what you do, if you grow, when you learn and grow, you look at yourself and you say, boy, that's hypocritical. I have to change that. I can't be that way because I'm being a hypocrite. Because anything else is a rationalization of that, that bad thing that you are. By the way, if you want to get a hold of us, 844-551-8255, kjradio.com. Hypocrisy. Now, look, I don't watch the leftist TV. I don't watch the Grammys and the Emmys and all that other stuff, and I didn't watch the Golden Globes. And I doubt you did either. But if you watched it, and the only piece that I've actually seen, I watched some clips. I watched Natalie Portman say, and the male winner for Best Actor is. All it is, it was a division between man and woman. It was a division between black and white. And I'm going to get to Oprah's clips here in a bit. But it was nothing more than Hollywood putting on a show saying, look at all the stuff that we see that's negative about this country, that for the record is nonsense. Natalie Portman acts as if women can't be best directors. Sure they can. But if they can't, who do you blame? You going to blame Donald Trump? You're going to blame the conservative movement. Who runs Hollywood? Men. Leftist. Who's allowed all the sexual abuse that's gone on in Hollywood for decades to happen? Leftist. This isn't something that some conspiracy between the conservative movement, Donald Trump, and a bunch of other people that says, ooh, we're going to make sure that people understand how that is. We don't do anything. In fact, I don't even support Hollywood. I've abandoned them. I don't know what good movies are out. They're like the NFL. I don't watch it. I don't want to know what's out. The only time I will even look at something from Hollywood is if it has a conservative in the film. And then I look at how many it has before I decide if I'm going to go see it. That's it. Other than that, I don't even care. So she gets up there, Natalie Portman. Well, there's not any. One of the buzz before the Golden Globes was that there were no women nominated for Best Director. Okay, were there women nominated for Best Woman in such and such, Best Actress? Because there's another contradiction. I thought we were beyond gender roles. Wait a minute. Somebody get me the memo. I didn't think we could be looking at people as men or women. I thought we just looked at them as these amorphous beings that got awards. Why suddenly, when it's all males that are up for Best Director, then it's all men who Best Male, Best Director. Shouldn't she go to prison? I thought Jerry Brown said if you use pronouns in California, you go to prison now. What happened to that? They are nothing but hypocritical, contradictory in every way, shape, or form, disingenuous to their rotten cores. They go in these gowns that cost $5,000, $10,000, gowns that could feed kids for weeks, gowns that could be down payments on houses, suits and such. The pomp and circumstance involved in that event could save people from losing their mortgages. They could prevent suicides with what they do in that, from people struggling day to day. And they get up there and suddenly they care about the world. And what are they doing? They're giving themselves a bunch of trophies that are meaningless in the scheme of things. Meaningless. He's got 5 of this or 3 of this particular one or whatever. Good for you. It isn't enough that you get a fat paycheck. It isn't enough that you get to do something that you love. It isn't enough. I mean, I could go on in the ways that this type of creativity and this things they could create. And you know what they do? They create drivel. They create nonsense. Look, I'm not going to tell you that Hollywood can't entertain us. They absolutely can. And I love the minds that are there when they're using it for good, when they're trying to make you laugh, when they're trying to elicit an emotion in you that maybe you haven't felt in a while, or something that they jog, a memory for you through some movie that they make or something that they say. It's amazing to watch. That creative process is something we do at the Black Sphere team every day, and I love watching it. But I don't do it maliciously. I don't do it with the idea that my agenda, I do it with the idea of learning. We go into this thing and we say, here's a concept. Now let's learn from it. They don't. They have agendas. They write the agenda into the film. We will write in gay sex. We will write in women empowerment as if it doesn't exist. We will write in white suppressing blacks. We will, they write these things in not with that it follows a storyline, that it's meaningful to us, that everybody can learn from it. They write it in with the idea of this is going to be in your face. This is what you're going to accept, yada, yada. And that's my problem with them. And they are so wrong. And you know how you know they're so wrong? They won't discuss it. See, I know I'm right in the subjects of politics and the things that we discuss here and what's really plaguing America. I know I'm right. But you know what I'm willing to do? I'm willing to put that on the line. I'm willing to have somebody go, Kevin, I challenge you on your ideas around DACA. I challenge you on your ideas around immigration in general. I challenge you on these ideas because I'm not a hypocrite about them. And look, DACA doesn't apply to me. I was born in this country. And I get it. There are people out there going, you don't understand. You didn't come over here with your parents. You're exactly right. I was born here. I was fortunate enough to have my DNA assembled on terra firma in America. But that doesn't mean I don't understand your plight. I'm going to go into that in a little bit more detail because I was having a discussion with a young black friend of mine, a conservative, and he was a girl said to him, well, unless you have a uterus, you don't understand the plight of women. And I said, that's the biggest crock of nonsense that I've ever heard, except the hypocrisy that I see in Hollywood each and every day. So we're going to dissect the Golden Globes. We're going to do that.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. Life is not fair. Politics is not fair. If you're looking for some sort of fairness to come from the left in dealing with all of these issues surrounding Donald Trump and issues surrounding the conservative movement, etc., it'll never happen. Just discipline the idea that that's never going to happen. I'll give you a good example. So Oprah gives her speech, worst speech ever, if you ask me. Most divisive. It's a terrible speech. And they come out and say, Oprah for president. The LA Times, other people, NBC, whatever. Oprah for president. Now, keep in mind, Oprah, these are the people, Democrats are the people who said a billionaire TV personality should not be running for president. And what do they want? They want Oprah, a billionaire TV personality, running for president. Again, hypocrisy. Do you think anybody's talking about that? Do you think anybody say, it's really funny. We clamored that we didn't want Donald, somebody who's a billionaire TV person to be president, and now we're asking for Oprah to be president. Oh, the irony. No, they don't. They gloss over it. They don't care. What applies to us doesn't apply to them. And here's the other thing. Do you think anybody in these circles is publicly, openly saying, you know what? You can be as mad as you want about Donald Trump, but you got to give him some credit on the stock market. Hey, you can be as mad as you want about Donald Trump, but you got to look at these numbers. It's consumer confidence. You got to look at what happened in retail during the Christmas season, the retail season. You got to look at how low unemployment is. You got to look at the fact that we don't have a whole lot of illegal immigration now. It's really gone down. You got to look at the idea that we now seem to have gotten a handle on terrorism, whatever. You got to, and I could go on. I could give you the litany of things, the companies moving back, the manufacturing numbers, etc. Do you think any of those conversations happen? And I know they don't. And here's why they don't. It isn't because these people don't know it. Not at all. The reason it doesn't happen is very simple. If they open their mouths, they're ostracized. They lose their jobs. They lose their friends. They lose their careers. Ironically, they really wouldn't lose their friends because more of their friends than they think feel this way. So I'll ask you this. Does it take more guts to go into the belly of the beast and say, this is how I feel, or do you just toe the line? So they all toe the line, but they act as if they're not being disingenuous. They act as, no, this is legitimately what I think. There are men that sat in the audience of the Golden Globes as women went up there and decried all of them, and they clapped like trained seals. They're clapping against themselves. Nobody stood up and said, wait a minute, what are you talking about? You want to direct? I tell you what, why don't you have a award ceremony that's just for women? There are lots of women's organizations and women's groups and women's this or that. If you want to really make yourself stand out every time you do something, then just make it for women. And you know why they won't do it? Because it's like the WNBA. How many WNBA games have you seen in your life? How many NBA games have you seen? Now, you don't have to be a basketball fan to tell me, yeah, I watched a little bit of a game one time with my boyfriend, my husband. I'm talking to the ladies now. But I doubt that you ever watched a WNBA game. And it's just because it doesn't have any interest to you. It doesn't have any interest to the person that you're with. Unless you have a daughter who plays basketball, you probably don't pay much attention to women's sports. It's just the truth. So if Oprah, if any of these women want to be distinguished beyond in their craft, go be it. And what's most interesting, and I said this previously, this is a leftist-dominated thing. This is not some male, patriarchal, macho society that says, to hell with women. A bunch of ogres. This isn't the oracles, in 300, where they have the beautiful women that they, get to have their way with as they make their predictions of what's going to happen. This isn't something like that, a bunch of old lecherous guys. This is Hollywood. This is leftists dealing with other leftists, and they're mad at themselves. I'm mad at you leftists because you know better. You know there should have been a female director. That's female. They are losing their minds. And what's funny about it, you watch how they react to it. They have to make us seem stupid. Here's what's I want to clue you in on something. When they tell you that Donald Trump is unhinged, that he's got a problem, he's unfit to be president, what they're saying is you're stupid. You, not him. Don't be fooled that they don't like Trump. They don't like you. The best way for them to demoralize you is to demoralize the person that you have elected. They single one out of the herd. Now, here's their problem. Donald Trump doesn't give a crap. And I haven't gotten the ratings yet from the stupid show, Golden Globes. I predicted before the show that it's going to go down for two reasons. One, Seth Meyers, the host, anti-Trump. And secondly, just because people don't care. People don't care about these Hollywood weirdos. They believe they're relevant. These hypocrites that refuse to see the real America, that refuse to get out there and not have everything done for them by a bunch of assistants, and where food is, they show up and there's the food all laid out. There's food in the green room, and they don't know that people actually have to go out and make a living and go into their own kitchens and go, ain't nothing here, and then go grocery shopping and make their own food. These are people that they live in La La Land, not to promote one of the movies, but they do. They live in La La Land. And suddenly, when they're confronted with real life situations, the only thing they know, well, that's not the way my life is. It's hypocrisy. Don King said, hypocrisy is the mother of all evils. But I can go better than that. There's a gentleman, his name is Bernard de Mandeville. He says, no habit or quality is more easily acquired than hypocrisy, nor anything sooner learned than to deny the sentiments of our hearts and the principle we act from. But the seeds of every passion are innate to us, and nobody comes into the world without them. There are a lot of people that have spoken about this hypocrisy. It's the most easily acquired, nothing more sooner learned. That's what he's talking about. You learn it because it's a quality where, quite frankly, it makes you go introspective. You need hypocrisy so you can understand yourself. Don't deny it, though. All the people that stood in the Golden Globes, and when we come back, we're going to play many of the clips. All the people that stood there, it was a room full of hypocrites. Men who want to stand up and say, stop bashing us. Women who know they are complicit in their own demise. A system, I'm talking about leftism, that has created it all. It's created a vortex of evil, and they want to look for somebody to blame outside of them. Bunch of hypocrites.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. Before I get to some of the clips, I want to read something from a friend of mine. He wrote me and he says, asterisk one, he was about the Oprah speech. He said it was just another speech dividing blacks and whites. What I said, women and men, typical liberal clap. Says, I love it when men applaud themselves being, and I'll clean it up, being butt munches. He says, asterisk number 2, she told a story about a black woman raped by white men. Why did color have anything to do with the story except to make it color related? I assure you, for every black girl raped, we can find a white girl, an Asian, a Muslim, but Oprah chose to divide us. Why was color brought into the story? Other than Harvey Weinstein and Al Franken are white. So was she saying that this is a white-black problem? I guess no producers seduce women. No black producers seduce women. And he goes on. I felt I was listening to Michelle Obama, only much more elegant, dividing us again. It was about division. I'm tired of it. Not all men are crap. Not all white men rape black women. But if you listen to Oprah, blacks and whites are two different humans. It's as if she spoke, and all the liberals just sat there amazed. Enough already. Says, I was praying Oprah would come out and discuss anything with black versus white, but that's all she did. Loud applause. People crying while listening. And I'm going to stop there and just tell you, that's the ridiculousness of Hollywood. They all, oh my gosh, it's just amazing that she's saying this. It's crazy. And he goes on to say this, ridiculous tears. Sorry. I see white and black the same. I'm damn tired of hearing why we're so different by the richest of the Hollywood elite. Maybe if she told a story about how powerful men own Hollywood, used this power to dictate who worked and who didn't depending upon if you made him happy, that Oprah never came close. We got another liberal lesson on the back of the bus as she cited Rosa Parks. He says, and Denzel, making $25 million a picture, shook his head in agreement. Ask if the rich NFL athletes how terrible their lives are. I hear the price of Ferraris are up. Enough already. Actually, the only true movement I've seen in the black community was created by Donald Trump, but no one will say black unemployment is at an all-time low. And I assure you, after 8 years, he will have done more for the black community than any other president in history. Want to bet? And let me tell you, this buddy of mine, good friends with President Trump. He's good friends with me too. Very, connects me with a lot of folks. This guy's spot on. He knows exactly what he's talking about. He's not racist. He's looking at this going, when will these people stop? And I'm going to give you the answer. It isn't going to happen. The only thing you can do is learn to change their behavior to such a degree that they won't say this stuff. They feel comfortable telling you all these different stories. But here's what I want to do. I want to get into the first clip and play this Oprah Winfrey piece, and I'm going to explain to you along the way the hypocrisy of what Oprah says, with every single thing that spews out of her dumb mouth, and people look at it and she's so elegant, she was so beautiful, she was so well spoken on this. It was absolute. If you read between the lines, which is what I do, you'll see everything she said was nonsense. And here we go. I'm going to play the first clip.
I was a little girl sitting on the linoleum floor of my mother's house in Milwaukee, watching Anne Bancroft present the Oscar for Best Actor at the 36th Academy Awards. She opened the envelope and said 5 words that literally made history. The winner is Sidney Poitier. Up to the stage came the most elegant man I had ever seen. I remember his tie was white, and of course his skin was black, and I'd never seen a black man being celebrated like that. And I have tried many, many, many times to explain what a moment like that means to a little girl, a kid watching from the cheap seats as my mom came through the door, bone-tired from cleaning other people's houses. But all I can do is quote and say that the explanation in Sydney's performance in Lilies of the Field, amen, 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 amen. In 1982, Sydney received the Cecil B. DeMille Award right here at the Golden Globes, and it is not lost on me that at this moment, there are some little girls watching as I become the first black woman to be given the same award. It is an honor. It is an honor, and it is a privilege to share the evening with all of them, and also with the incredible men and women who've inspired me, who've challenged me, who've sustained me, and made my journey to this stage possible. Dennis Swanson, who took a chance on me for AM Chicago. Quincy Jones, who saw me on that show and said to Steven Spielberg, yes, she is Sophia in The Color Purple. Gail, who's been the definition of what a friend is, and Stedman, who's been my rock, just a few to name.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson. Did you miss the irony? Yeah, the irony. First of all, there was a tepid clapping in most of that stuff. There was a tepid clapping, other than the fact that she was the first woman, black woman, to win the Cecil B. DeMille Award. Congratulations. Wow. Another group of Holly weirdos giving themselves, big fat awards while they make big fat money. Well, congratulations. And don't misunderstand me, folks. You should be recognized for good works. But I just look at Hollywood and go, for what? Congratulations. Oprah did a great job in The Color Purple. Moving along. But the thing that got me was this. They're bashing men in Hollywood. They're bashing men about all the things that we do. I'm sick of it. I'm no longer taking it. I don't know how other men are, but I'm not taking it. I get into arguments with feminists and say, you tell me what it is that makes your life so different than mine, because you have different anatomy than I do. Different, you got a JJ and I've got a PP. Explain it to me. But here's what I want you to understand. One, she says, I want to thank Dennis Swanson. Now, Dennis Swanson put her on AM Chicago. This is a man who recognized this black woman back in the 70s and said, hey, I think I see something in you. You need to be on AM Chicago. That launched her career. There's a Jewish guy, I forget maybe it is Dennis Swanson, but I remember reading a story where Oprah said, I'm not known if it weren't for this man. And I don't believe it was Swanson. I believe it was somebody else. But then the next thing that got Oprah into the limelight was Quincy Jones. Saw her on that show. So a black dude went, oh man, there's the person you need to talk to. So what does Quincy do? Quincy calls up Spielberg, another man, and says, I just found your Sophia. So Spielberg says, wow, let's have her come in and audition. And they gave her the role of Sophia. And what did that do? That launched her career. And then who does she finally credit at the very end for being her rock? Stedman, the guy who's been quietly, comfortably behind the scenes while Oprah does what she does. I don't know what Stedman does, but he's still there. He's still her man. And she says, and Gail's been my best friend. That's the only woman that she mentions in a litany of people that helped her build her career. The only woman is the woman that's been her lifelong friend. Everybody who built her career, who made her into the billionaire that she is today, who made her a one word known around the world, Oprah, was a guy. And then what'd she get up there and do? She got to bash men. What does Hollywood get up there? We got to bash these men, these pitiful men. Pitiful men making their careers, but they're pitiful. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about hypocrites. Nothing but hypocrites. Oprah Winfrey stood up on that stage and pretended about problems that are created by men. I think they're created by women, to be honest with you. Because let me tell you what a man will do. A man will do what a woman lets him do. That's true. Think about it this way. If a man ever strikes a woman and she says, first of all, she should leave. So if she doesn't leave and she says, that's the last time you'll put your hands on me. Because I know there are women in my family said that to the men that they're still married to. Because we know the stories inside of my family. It's not a secret. And they'll go, yeah, I hit your auntie one time and she told me that's the last time you'll do that. And she meant it. And that was it. I'm just telling you, if a woman will allow you to do things, because if she says that's the end, that's the end. I can go into the details of it if you guys want, but I choose not to. But I'm just telling you, women can stop whatever they want. If women wanted to stop the behavior of Hollywood, of sleeping your way to the top, it would be done. It wouldn't even occur. They'd get together and say, I'm not taking any of those roles. And it would be women saying, nope, we are in solidarity on this. It's our bodies. We're not going to do this. We're going to respect ourselves. But you know why it doesn't happen? Because there's always a woman willing to do it. And it's not just one. It's a bunch of them. So if they wanted to get to the bottom of that, you know where they'd end up? They'd end up with conservatism. They'd end up with young ladies being taught to respect themselves and to respect their bodies.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
I'd like to thank the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, because we all know that the press is under siege these days. But we also know that it is the insatiable dedication to uncovering the absolute truth that keeps us from turning a blind eye to corruption and to injustice. To tyrants and victims and secrets and lies. I want to say that I value the press more than ever before as we try to navigate these complicated times.
Welcome back, everybody. That was Oprah Winfrey taking a dig at Donald Trump. That's exactly what that was. You know what you can recognize that. This is the Kevin Jackson Show, KJRadio.com if you want to call us, 844-551-8255. A dig at Trump. I never have I been more impressed with the press. The press is this, that, and the other. I mean, think about how pandering that was. What a pander. And of course, nobody. What's funny, as you listen to that closely, they're not that big of a clap for her when she talks about the press. Can we get that clip and just wait till she says it and play the clip again? In fact, do me a favor, enhance it, because I want them to hear that the people aren't like, yay. You hear big claps when she says certain things, but when she was talking about the press, people were kind of like, whatever.
I'd like to thank the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, because we all know that the press is under siege these days.
Nothing.
I want to say that I value the press more than ever before.
Listen.
As we try to navigate these complicated times.
See? The only time they clapped is when she talked about the corruption and things like that. So they get it. These audiences get it. And you have to read between the lines with them. Now, don't make the mistake of thinking that they're sane. They're not. They are indoctrinated. They suffer from Stockholm Syndrome. All you got to do is sit down with any one of these clowns, and you'll go, oh, wow. Because people ask me all the time, Kevin, do they believe this stuff? Oh, they believe it. They absolutely believe it. And I would love to tell you that, we're getting through in a big way to the elites. You're not. But I will give you the good news here. It filters down. When you get outside of these bubbles, this DC bubble, the Hollywood bubble, the regular world, they go, y'all ain't selling me on it. What? Shoot. Don't, you better not believe. But the problem is we aren't marketing to them in a way that it reaches them. Hollywood doesn't have nearly the impact that it used to have on the people below them. DC, the elites, don't have nearly the impact. And it's because of exactly what Oprah was talking about. Donald Trump has pretty much minimized them because he's his own press. There was a call to have Donald Trump kicked off of Twitter. Maybe we'll get into it. And Twitter, the CEO, Jack Dorsey, said, no, he's got freedom of speech, and he's also, he said two things. One, the relevancy of what he talks about, and two, the transparency that we get by having a direct pipeline to the president. It was amazing. So Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, recognized that this is the best in democracy we have, where we get unfiltered president, unfiltered Donald Trump. And we'll get into that too, because he was in trouble based on the tweet that he made to North Korea, which I find funny. The people would actually make a big deal about it. But I want to move on because we're running out of time. The last Oprah clip is the one that I find not most interesting, because I think the first one was most interesting, that all these men that helped her build her career. But this will tie it in as a bookend for you to see what she's now describing as the brave women of Hollywood. So let's play that clip.
What I know for sure is that speaking your truth is the most powerful tool we all have. And I'm especially proud and inspired by all the women who have felt strong enough and empowered enough to speak up and share their personal stories. Each of us in this room are celebrated because of the stories that we tell. And this year, we became the story. But it's not just a story affecting the entertainment industry. It's one that transcends any culture, geography, race, religion, politics, or workplace. So I want tonight to express gratitude to all the women who have endured years of abuse and assault because they, like my mother, had children to feed and bills to pay and dreams to pursue.
In all seriousness, these speeches are a little more acting, right? I mean, I listen to them, I'm like, that's just Oprah. Their speeches, they had children to feed, they had things to do, and it's just, oh my gosh, and you can just feel the emotion. They're acting these things out. They don't believe it. This is all acting. These are people that spend their lives pretending to be other people, and they haven't figured out who in the heck they are. It's kind of sad. But let's look at what Oprah says. I want to thank all these women for coming out and speaking your truth. Oh, so 2017 was a year that women came out and spoke their truth, and we're learning about it in 2018. But we were what? Hearing the lies in 2000. In say 2010 or in 2000, in 1990s, we're talking about things that go back decades. And the women of today are, oh, you're so brave that you're coming out 35 years later to accuse somebody of something. Look, I don't know whether you did or you didn't, whether things happened or they didn't. But I'll tell you this, what I've learned in my life is if something happens to me, I'm going to go confront it right away. What I've taught to everybody that around me, sisters, children, you name it, is you confront. You don't wait. You don't let it fester. You don't let people think that they're going to hold something over your head. You confront it. That's the way you solve problems. And the problem with the left is think about it. it's such, I mean, the elixir of the power and the fortune, the fame and fortune that you get when you get a Hollywood career is amazing. I was thinking about this the other day. You could be, I'll use Alan West as an example. Alan's a buddy of mine, and we've gone to events, and Alan is, he gets a lot of attention. People come, oh, there's Alan West. Ooh, there's Alan West. And I remember 5 years ago when people sent me a clip of Alan, and I was like, I don't know who he is. And I mean, if we want to measure, he surpassed me in terms of notoriety. I don't care. Congratulations to Alan. Because we went to CPAC one year. We're both walking through the place, and everybody's like, Alan West, Alan West, Alan West. And I'll never forget one girl going, oh, Kevin Jackson. It's like, yeah, I'm here. Yeah, hello. But the point is, he gets notoriety. But let Denzel Washington walk through that building, and he transcends politics. He's huge. He's well known. So I don't know whether you want that or you don't want that. Do you want to be known in just your circles, or do you want to be known nationally? Me personally, I don't want to be known. If I had my druthers, you wouldn't know who I was. I would be the dude behind the scenes. But I can tell you there are people who crave that. They want that. And they're willing to do it at all cost. And at the time when they do it, they see it as it's the cost. It's the price of fame. It's the entry fee to get to where I want to go. And so that's what Hollywood became. It became the cesspool of, you've got to do these things I ask you to do. And quite honestly, it became ridiculous. There was a post, I can't find it, but it's out there. You can find this information anywhere. And there was called riders on people's contracts. And you should look at the riders that these stars would put in their contracts. It was to the point of ridiculousness where that the stars were saying at some point, I want to see just how far I can take this contract. So they might say, I want M&Ms in the limo, but I only want green ones. And so somebody had to take a bunch of M&Ms, pick out all the green ones and put them in a jar, say, here you go. Another person says, I only want the scent of lavender. And, it's got to be in every room or something like that. Other people say, and I remember, I'm just going from memory here, but one of them I remember was, I think it was Streisand, that said, nobody can look at me. You will look down as I walk by, like royalty. It reminds me of those old, back in King Henry VIII, where, the king would walk by and everybody had to drop their heads. You couldn't look at the king. They had things like that. I mean, crazy stuff. Writers and contracts. And I think that the stars now just believe, what? I can put anything in there and these people will give me what I want. And that's where we are today. A bunch of pretentious people that don't have any connection with reality. They say things that sound good. They get up there and give their speeches, which are little more than other performances. And they want the world to take notice.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. We are focused on hypocrisy today. I could tell you we focus on hypocrisy each and every day because we see it, we witness it with the left. There's hardly anything you can look at. Immigration. Go look at Chuck Schumer, what he said about immigration before, under Obama, what he said about immigration under Trump. Go look at it. Pelosi. Supported, voted for a border wall in 2006. Doesn't support it now. And I could go on. Flip-floppy, wishy-washy. It depends on who's in office at whatever time, etc. And you know what? Why you are so valuable, why you are so amazing to me? You have a core that doesn't change. Your feelings about illegal immigration have been the same for decades. Your feelings about terrorist attacks and bringing people in who could actually do us harm have been the same for the better part of this decade. Your feeling about taxes and the policies of a government believing it should just steal your money and decide how much of it wants to give back to you. You've been the same. You've been consistent. You've been consistent about how to raise your kids, what type of neighborhood you want to live in. You are consistent about the people you want in your lives. And I'll tell you something. Overwhelmingly, you don't care what color they are, what race they are, what religion they are, what sex they are, the sexuality, the gender, the creed, you name it. You just care about their character. Overwhelmingly. And I could go on. And yet, the left paints you as devils. They paint you as the enemy. They call you Nazis. They got all kinds of phobes for you. Homophobe, Islamophobe, this phobe. When they themselves are the biggest hypocrites on the planet. They don't want their kids going to school with these black thugs. They don't want to live around these black thugs. They don't want to, the terrorism in Muslims, that's your problem. Oh, they support it on paper. Yeah, I support Muslim refugees as long as you don't put them in my neighborhood. They support green energy as long as you don't put wind farms where they can see them from their vista views. That's the stuff there. They're nothing but hypocrites. It's amazing. The hypocrisy of some is that we like to think of ourselves as sophisticated and evolved, but we're still also driven by primal urges like greed and power. Michael Lunick said that. And he was talking about leftists. He was talking about Holly weirdos, these entertainers. The people that, get to the brass ring and then don't want to let it go. Now you got to earn it. There was a fraternity, and they what do they call it? Hazing, right? So they'd haze, and they said we need to get rid of the hazing tradition. And everybody before went, heck no, you can't get rid of hazing. I had to go through hazing. Now you're just going to let people in? Are you kidding me? Think about it. Beating people up, abusing them in inhumane ways so they can get into your secret society. And then they go, you know what? Somebody goes, that's not a cool way to be bringing people into society and into our little thing here. And somebody goes, shoot, if I had to go through it, everybody else has to go through it. Blood in, blood out. Think about gang initiations. You have the same thing that goes on in college. Well, let me tell you, if you don't think the casting couch and all the stuff that goes on in Hollywood isn't it identically the same, you better grow up. There are actors and actresses in Hollywood that are going, what do you mean? Somebody's just going to get a role just because they're good. They can act. They went to this school or that school. Are you kidding? I had to jump up on the casting couch. I had to get down on my knees. I want them to have to do it. It's become a tradition. So don't act like it doesn't exist, you bunch of Hollywood hypocrites. It exists, and you want it to exist. You trust me when I tell you there are people that you go, oh, so how'd you get that role, man? Oh, well, that was one of Harvey's films. Okay, I got it. It's cool. Hey, I did a film for Harvey. Meaning I had to, get fondled or whatever. There are stories circulating just like that. These people are hypocrites to their core. And then they stand up in their galas and they give away, oh, he's such an amazing award, Roman Polanski. And they give standing ovations to the most ruthless people on the planet. People who are rapists, people who are sexual abusers, pedophiles, etc. They give them awards and they clap and everybody's just like, oh my gosh. And then they blame somebody else. Oh, it's men. And then there are men clapping, you're right, we're bad. But hey, if you want to get initiated, you want into business, that's what you go through. I'm just telling you, self-absorbed to their core. In fact, so one of my buddies sent out this thing, this thing that he wrote, and people responded back. And that's exactly what they said. Self-absorbed, overpaid a-holes, patting themselves on the back. Let's award the real heroes of the world. That's what one guy wrote. I want to do a pageant and a gala that awards the real heroes. The guy that drugged 3 of his wounded friends out of combat. The firefighter who saved the lives of a family. The guy who put himself in harm's way to stop a gang of mean people from beating somebody up or whatever. I want to award those heroes. best this, best that, best supporting this, best blah blah blah, best athlete, cinematography. I want to have a category for all these different people, and I want to give out X number of awards every year, and I want to grow it. And let me tell you something, that gala should be bigger than anything Hollywood puts on. Award show for fallen heroes, firefighters. Right now, how many of those guys died fighting Jerry Brown and leftist fires that were created because these people have rules now that say, oh, you can't do controlled burns or whatever it may be. They got some rule to save some stupid animal, and people have to die for that. The real heroes are not Lady Gaga, Bruce Springsteen, Jimmy Kimmel, the Kardashians, or the cast of The View. The real heroes in this country are people that are unheralded. Anyway, they're just a bunch of hypocrites. And it's our job to point that out, to point out the hypocrisy of even having that event. I remember, I talked about this before. Remember when it was just the Oscars? And then maybe it was the Tonys. And suddenly we got the People's Choice Awards, the Golden Globes, and all this. And they've all got a specific little thing. Oh, this is international. This one's this. And this one's just for the actors doing it for themselves, and all that nonsense.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. KJRadio.com. And I got to tell you, the little bit that and again, I don't watch these stupid award shows. I think they're a joke. But I saw that they were going to be doing this thing for women, and I think they called the movement Time's Up. And the idea is, time's up for men to stop abusing women. And I thought to myself, well, why not, since it's a bunch of leftist women who condone this type of thing and actually, they like it. Why not appoint Harvey Weinstein as chairman of the board of this leftist fraud? Hollywood showcases how it handles scandals by pretending to care. They act like, we really care about women. They don't care about women. They don't care about children. They care about their paychecks. And what's funny, once they've made it is when they start to get their attitude. I remember when Viola Davis won for Best Actress or something, first black woman to win that for some TV series, and she was like, "It's been a long time coming," and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking to myself, you weren't acting all sanctimonious and, raise fist racist, black ethnicity, etc. when you were trying to come up through the ranks. If you were going to have a voice about it, have your voice about it early on. Let people know. It's like, great, cry foul when you're a nobody. No, let me wait until I've made it and then I'll cry foul. Because it'll have so much more meaning at that point. I mean, think about it. You've done the hard work. Viola Davis is a pretty good actress, if you ask me. She's done the hard work, but suddenly, it's so tough to get. It's tough to get there for everybody. It's funny. People, if it was easy, we'd all be doing it. I mean, most of us would, we've all wanted to have some fame at some point. I mean, unless you're a pure introvert, you've wanted to have some level of fame, even if it's only in your little circles. So the idea that if it was easy, if you said to me when I was, 19 years old, Kevin, if you go to Hollywood, man, you're so good. You get this, you got a voice, you could do this, man, you're talented. It wouldn't be 2 weeks. You'd be, making $1 million. I'd have packed up my truck. I had an El Camino, but I'd have packed it up and I'd have headed to California. Little old country bumpkin. I would have been, I'm just telling you, y'all look at me like I'm crazy. I would have been there. Yeah. But you know what stopped me? I knew it wasn't easy. I was like, shoot, I ain't going out there to become somebody's waiter, or house boy, pool cabana boy. Yeah. Unless it's, of course, Lena Horne or, some beautiful woman that says, I like that little fella. But other than that, unless, like one of the beautiful women of Hollywood said, I want to bring him out there and we'll give him the little house next to the pool, because I want him to be mine. I'm not going to Hollywood. No way. Because my fallback plan would have had to be something like that. There's no way I'm going to Hollywood to go be an actor, knowing that everybody that works in a restaurant is doing, and I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't put in the time. You know what I mean? If you said, Kevin, you have to spend years learning your craft. Nah. I like to act, but I'll just do it my normal stuff. Like if they said to me, you could do a little thing that's a 2-minute thing, okay, I can do that. But if I had to carry a show, nah, and I got to spend 10 years learning, no, I don't have that interest. But there are people who would sell their souls to go to Hollywood, to be a part of it, to get to that brass ring. And many of them are women. We're not hearing any of the horror stories of boys. We've heard of Corey Feldman and Corey Haim, but outside of that, we don't hear of too many stories involving men who didn't get what they needed out of Hollywood and got taken advantage of and all that. It's always the young starlet, the young girl. Yeah. The women of Hollywood, they're part of every one of them is part of the problem. They all know that these executives in Hollywood have been treating women this way for decades, and now they want to start their movement. Now they've got a movement. Shonda Rhimes, Reese Witherspoon. They say key players in an effort to have a defense fund for women, get this, in blue-collar industries, and they call for women to wear black to the Golden Globes. And what's funny is, can you see the game that's being played here? We want to help these women in blue-collar industries. They need our help. Because what the Hollywood starlets are telling you, the stars, the ones who've made it, is we know what goes on. We know we're part of the problem. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to pretend to care about the little people, the blue-collar women. How many blue-collar women, don't misunderstand me, there's sexual harassment. I have a friend who went through sexual harassment. It was undoubted sexual harassment. She's a pretty girl. And she works in she works in IT. I'm from IT. She worked in IT. And the vice president of the company, would allude to her beauty quite often. And to the point of pretty much saying, you're going to get ahead here if you'll sleep with me. And he got fired. See, in the real world, these people are dealt with. In the fake world, the make-believe world of Hollywood, they get better movies and better actors and actresses. They get more breaks. Harvey Weinstein is the exception. He was so egregious that finally it caught up with him. But think about it. Harvey Weinstein got away with that for the better part of 30 years. Not exactly a punishment. And now he's in rehab. Did they take away his fame and did they take away his fortune? No. They took away some of his fame, but his movies live on. He still got those movies. He still got pictures with all these people. Yeah, he's somewhat disgraced. And maybe he's going to have to, I don't know what's going to happen to him, but I'll tell you this, that's not the fall from grace that people expect, where you're still worth over, like a guy's worth $100 million or so. Psst, no harm, no foul, Harvey. But time's up, they say. It's going to put this legal defense fund for blue-collar industries so people can protect themselves from sexual misconduct. We have that. Hollywood, how much money goes in it? Who determines who gets the money? I'm just curious. They say, the New York Times said this, Time's Up has no central leaders. It's made up of numerous committees, including Rhimes and Witherspoon among the key players. Anti-sexual harassment commission that they got. And I think they're going to be looking to Anita Hill to help this. But at the end of the day, what are they really doing? Where's it going to go? It's just cannon fodder. It's just putting lipstick on a pig that they know they created. Because we all know what goes on in Hollywood. There's no secret to it. Go interview for a job in the blue collar industries and let somebody say, listen, I'd be happy to give you the job, but you're going to have to bend over my desk here. Let me have my way with you. Okay, as long as I get that job, said no woman ever. They walk out of there, they file a complaint, blah, blah, blah. Hollywood, they do it. So don't try to act all, we're going to be doing these women a favor now. Woo!
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
I got time for one more question. Mr. President, if Robert Mueller asks you to come and speak with his committee personally, are you committed still to doing that? Do you believe that?
Just so you understand. There's been no collusion. There's been no crime. And in theory, everybody tells me I'm not under investigation. Maybe Hillary is, I don't know, but I'm not. But there's been no collusion. There's been no crime. But we have been very open. We could have done it two ways. We could have been very closed, and it would have taken years. But, sort of like when you've done nothing wrong, let's be open and get it over with. Because, honestly, it's very, very bad for our country. It's making our country look foolish. And this is a country that I don't want looking foolish. And it's not going to look foolish as long as I'm here. So we've been very open, and we just want to get that over with.
I love that about Donald Trump. Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. So Donald Trump's responding to the question of, would you cooperate? What else can he do? They gave him Papadopoulos' emails. They gave him Donald Trump Jr.'s emails. Donald Trump said, in no uncertain terms, if you got to investigate somebody surrounding me, go for it. I mean, look, this is all media subterfuge. But here's what I want to play. I want to get that clip ready for Mika, whatever her name is, Brzezinski. I want you to hear this before I even tease it. I want you to hear what she has to say, and then I'm going to give you my opinion about it.
Yeah. I mean, he's playing to a guy with autocratic tendencies. So there you go.
And it all plays into the bigger picture. I had some friends that went to Paris over the holiday, and they said they were viscerally...
Paris, Texas, right?
Paris, France.
Oh, Paris, France.
And they said they were just viscerally embarrassed to be Americans. They said it was the first time that it was sort of chilling, that they didn't even want to share where they were from.
I chuckled at that. Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. What's striking about that comment is there's no way to verify it. I some friends of mine called and they told me, that they were in Paris and they're embarrassed about what? Embarrassed about the fact that the United States has had a resurgence, embarrassed that the United States is forcing NATO to pay its bills, embarrassed that the United States is dealing with Russia like with big boy pants, dealing with China to where we now have opened up that market to not only us, but to the rest of the world. Embarrassed about what? That North Korea has now reached out to South Korea? That the U.S. economy is booming? You know, look, the funny thing about this is nobody challenges these people. Somebody on that panel should have said, well, what would your friends have to be embarrassed about? Let me ask you this. Would they have been more embarrassed under Obama, given that our economy now seems to be booming? From a world stage point of view, I'm talking about the way the world is looking at us. Don't you feel that our foreign policy now has a little bit more meat on the bones? What would they specifically tell me? What were they embarrassed about? Are they embarrassed about the president? What? Because if that's the case, couldn't somebody else have come back from Paris and said they were just as embarrassed about Barack Obama being president? Let me ask you, Mika, do you have any friends that are embarrassed about the Obama administration? Do you know any Democrats who are embarrassed that Barack Obama lost over 1,000 seats during his tenure as presidency? Do you have were any of them embarrassed by Barack Obama making the statement that Donald Trump couldn't save Carrier and then he did it? Are they embarrassed that Barack Obama said to us, we wouldn't bring back manufacturing jobs, and Donald Trump is doing it? Are you embarrassed that Barack Obama implied that he was the only guy who could make this economy grow when he couldn't get 3% GDP and said Donald Trump could, but Donald Trump got 3% GDP 2 quarters in a row? Are you embarrassed about that? It's crazy. Our credit rating was lower during the time of Obama. Cops being killed, mass shootings, terror attacks, and I could go on, and they could find nothing to be embarrassed about. They're big hypocrites is what they are. Every single one to their rotten core are hypocrites. I told you a friend of mine, he talked about the Golden Globes, and he sent out a thing that said he was embarrassed at Oprah Winfrey, and he got responses back. And one of the responses back was, unfortunately, our youth idolize false gods because they are force-fed that on our TV and social media. We need to show the public front and center who the real heroes are. Single mothers, veterans, firefighters, EMT, doctors, etc. People need to realize that the heroes are not people who play these false, idols in Hollywood. They're not our heroes. Your heroes should begin at home. They tell you a lot of stuff begins at home. Charity begins at home. Let me tell you what begins at home. Hero worship. And it starts with your mother and your father. That's who you should idolize. You should idolize your grandparents. So I'll give you an example. I have an uncle. He's worth millions of dollars. He was a coach, a high school coach, wrestling coach. And he got involved in real estate. He dabbled in it, and he had his own special way he did it. And right before the market crashed, he sold all of his real estate holdings. Moved out to Montana. Built a 6,500 square foot cabin right on the mountains, right at the foothill of the mountains. 120 acre little spread there. And he's worth millions of dollars. And he was a high school wrestling coach. And he saw the opportunity to start investing and doing his money right. And he has his own technique. I wouldn't have invested like him. He never tried to make money while he had the product, the properties. He just kept them going because he was always waiting on the sale. Then he timed it, boop, and the sale came. And he's worth over $50 million. He was a high school wrestling coach. And this is a guy that did it by the book, played all the rules, didn't cut any corners. He didn't know anybody. He didn't hobnob with wealthy people and all this other stuff. He and a Mexican dude that he met, they became partners, and both of them settled out of this thing. Very, very wealthy men, blue collar guys. Anyway, those are the idols. The guys that aren't running around trying to drive Ferraris and, jet set people and all this other stuff. These people in Hollywood are a joke. I want to play this next clip. This is a guy. These are the panel on Morning Joe talking about Donald Trump and his tweeting on North Korea.
Because there's just some still connection to normalcy here. For all of our lifetimes, any president of any party who treated threats of nuclear war in any way, in a cavalier way, we've not seen that really from Republicans or Democrats. Anybody who treated this cavalierly would be roundly condemned by all serious people in both parties. He is not merely being cavalier with a threat about nuclear war. He's being cavalier in a way that makes him seem demented and deranged and makes no serious of our serious allies or adversaries around the world think that he's a serious person talking in this way about the most serious threat that the world ever faces.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. That was an MSNBC panel, and they paint Trump as he's a crazy man. Look at him. He's talking about pushing the button. Kim Jong-un says, I got a button. Donald Trump says, my button's bigger. KJRadio.com, 844-551-8255. See, look, to me it's so obvious. You see the shift. He's deranged. He's delusional. He's unhinged. How could we possibly trust him? By the way, a regurgitation. We're just circling back to what they said originally when Donald Trump was running for president. He's crazy. He's unfit. Why would we turn this economy over to him? He could have the nuclear football. He could push the button at any time. Yeah, and he's pushing buttons, all right. He's pushing buttons that makes your very sane president of Barack Obama, the guy who is supposed to be the most amazing guy ever, and Donald Trump in year one is essentially made Barack Obama look so ineffective that it is causing the left to lose their minds. They tell you who they are by trying to tell you what somebody else is. Remember, I told you this. The left are telling you folks they are deranged, unhinged, unfit to lead, losing their minds, all of it. And it's a fact. Because everything they believe is down the drain. Everything that they've put their hopes into, they invested so much in lunacy. They invested in leftism. They invested in Barack Obama. And you are watching a guy without even breaking a sweat destroy it. So let me put it to you this way. You think you can run. You think you're fast. Okay? And you've been running in high school and you're winning your races. And then you go to college. And you get out on that track and there's a guy who's running alongside you, just looking at you and he's smiling. It's not even a race to him. And you are straining. You've got it all in. And there's nothing you can do except you look at this guy and go, wow.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
opened the floor to questions from reporters today during a meeting with GOP leaders at Camp David. Congressional leaders as well as cabinet members met with the president to lay out a plan for 2018, but the fallout from a new tell-all book seems to be stealing the spotlight. Joining me now, Democratic Congresswoman Dina Titus from Nevada. Awfully good to see you. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
I know that you've spent time with this president. As far as his mental state, which has been called into question by this book, what is your impression of him? Do you agree with claims that there's reason to worry about him?
Well, I think he's unfit to be president on a lot of levels, intellectually, morally, legally. And I hear people trying to say he acts like a child. That's offensive to some of the children I know. I think you might as well just call him a sociopath. If you read the book by the Harvard psychologist, Professor Stout, Sociopaths Next Door, you see he fits all those qualifications. Excessive lying, delusional, lack of empathy, superficially charming. Just call it what it is.
Well, just call it what it is right there. I tell you what, get her done. Oh, Congresswoman Dina Titus. Good for her. You know, look, what's funny, if you listen to what they say, they're describing Barack Obama. They're describing themselves intellectually, morally, and legally not supposed to be president. That's as he says. Intellectually, Donald Trump shouldn't be president. Okay. I told you guys, look, if you want to compare our intellectual midget to your intellectual giant, our intellectual midget is making your giant look pretty midgetly. So go for it. If they think that that's going to sell, Donald Trump is stupid. He's not. He's unfit. He's mentally, he's morally, legally, he's not even supposed to be president. And did I mention that I'm still mad? And then I love it when they do this. This is when you always know you're beating a liberal in argument. Well, you know, there was a study. Harvard said, a Harvard psychiatrist, really? So a Harvard psychiatrist gave you some descriptions of a person: excessive lying, delusional, superficially charming. He's a psychopath. And I go, that reminds me of Barack Obama. You know, if you like your plan, you can keep your plan. That dude, delusional. And everybody that follows, not only was Barack Obama delusional, everybody that follows Democrat leftist politics is delusional. Period. This isn't even a political for me. I'm telling you guys, as God is my witness, this isn't a political discussion for me. When you say, Kevin, you're a Republican or you're a Democrat, fine, you want to give me a label. Excuse me, if you want to give me a label, I'll take the Republican label. But I'm not a Republican. You want to give me a conservative label? I'll take the label, because I'm certainly not a liberal, but I'm not a conservative in the sense that I don't believe that the things that are determined to be liberal are liberal. Kevin, what do you feel about same-sex marriage? I don't believe same-sex people can marry. I believe they can be together, and I don't even give a crap. But they can't be married. And I'm going to tell you this, two husbands can't go, well, to a guy, well, he's my wife, or two women can't go, well, she's my husband. I don't know how the gay rationalize all that stuff, but no, it's two of you together and you're two women and two men. Give it new titles so I understand what it is. For all intents and purposes, if you want to say as another man, that's my husband, I'll get it. But you're not going to convince me that you're married. You'll convince me that you're together, you love each other, you want to live together. As strange as that appears to me, I don't really care. There are people that don't want to mate and all they want to do is live with their animals. I find that strange too. Now, is there a word for that? Can you marry your animals and just say, I don't want a husband or a wife, I just want to be with my animals? Maybe so, but you won't be married. So that's my rationalization. I'm saying live and let live, but you're not going to change the way I define words. I don't want to have to relearn a bunch of crap. Maybe other people do. I'm too old for that crap. Did I say crap? So, you know, these people want to paint us. They want to, you know what they're trying to do? They are trying to put this banner, this thing on Donald Trump. This is who he is, because he's flicked every one of them off. So now he's deranged, and Donald Trump's like, yeah, whatever. I'm a genius. And what's funny, it's genius that Donald Trump says, Not only am I not deranged, I'm a genius. And oh my gosh, look at him. He's completely egotistical. That's exactly one of the things that they say that noted psychologists from, the Sorbonne in France, because they can't just tell you, you know what? He is genius. And the fact that he even has to say it to you is pretty sad, because he has done what no other president in modern history has been able to do. He's tackled those issues that no other president in modern history has wanted to do and done effectively, and he's done it without even breaking a sweat. He's done it with more negativity than Ronald Reagan faced. And you ask yourself, I didn't even think that was possible, but it is. And he's done it with class and style. What is this woman talking about? But she goes on. Here's what she says.
Do you get a sense that many, or at least some of your colleagues, feel the way you do on Capitol Hill?
Oh, there's no question about it, certainly in Democratic circles. The frustrating thing is that Republicans will say similar things in private in the elevator, but then they go right down to the floor, vote for his agenda. They defend him in committee hearings and on television, and they go like minions in a bus over to the White House to provide a backdrop for some of his photo ops.
Oh, welcome back, Kevin Jackson. Here's who you listen to, the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. That was the second clip we took from Dina Titus in an interview she gave where she's trying to present that Donald Trump is deranged. He's deranged, doggone it, and everybody knows it. Intellectually, morally, legally, not supposed to be president. And a Harvard psychiatrist said it. Why? Because he lies excessively. He's delusional, but he's superficially charming. That's all the makings of a psychopath. Barack Obama. So then she gets asked the question, well, what do people say about it? Well, they don't like him. Democrats, they just say it outright. They don't really like the man. Didn't you see that vote on the tax bill? But let me just explain it this way. The Republicans say the same thing. That's why I don't understand why they would dare go down. They say these things privately, then they go down on the House floor and they vote lockstep with his agenda. Wow. What? They follow his agenda after privately saying, you know what? We don't really believe him, but we're going to go down and vote for him just because. See, here's what I'm going to tell you. In the poker game, there's a sucker and they usually don't know it. Dina Titus is the sucker. The Democrats are suckers. If the Democrats, look, let me put it this way. The Democrats are under this belief, and the Republicans are playing a beautiful game right now. McConnell and all of them. We really don't like Donald Trump. He's kind of wild and crazy, but privately I can tell you that. And then they go vote for him. They go vote right in lockstep with his agenda. And as she said, like minions, get in a bus, go to Capitol Hill, do the photo op, and then they go back. And she can't figure out why. And the Republicans are going, yeah, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. The Republicans are telling the Democrats, we're still in lockstep with you. We're still Democrats. We're still rhinos playing your game. Come on, guys. Yeah, privately, we don't like this guy. We can't stand him. Wow, what a piece of crap he is. He's unhinged. He's mentally unstable. And the Democrats go, well, I just don't understand why you don't say that publicly. Well, I can't say that publicly, but come on. You and I, we all agree, right? Yeah, we agree. So they agree. And then the Republicans go do what? Exactly opposite of what they say. I want you to think about what's going on here. If the Democrats are too dumb to see that they're getting played by the Republicans, who am I to tell them? Right, do they listen to this program? You're getting played, you stooges. These guys are in lockstep with Donald Trump. And let me tell you why. Because Donald Trump's getting it done. They've seen the political shift. The Democrats want to believe this shift isn't occurring. And the Republicans are going, you're right, it's not occurring. No, people don't really trust Donald Trump. They're playing the game. For the first time, I will tell you guys, in politics, you have Republicans who are tricking the Democrats into believing that they are now, that we're partnered. when they go down and they support Donald Trump's platform, and then the Democrats go, how could you do that? You just said to me privately, I know, but look, we're playing an elaborate game. Think of it as the double Russian spy or whatever they call it, the double agent. That's what the Republicans are doing right now. They're playing double agent because they know politically they better back Donald Trump.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.